and there was messages from my boss. Please call me. Very important. Doesn't matter day or night. And I thought, uh-oh.
Hi, this is Peter Heller. I'm here today with a new episode of Outrageous Fortune, where nonprofit professionals tell their most bizarre fundraising stories. And I'm here today with Beth Silver. Hi, Beth.
Hello.
How are you?
Good to be with you.
Excellent. Can you tell me something about yourself?
Something that nobody else knows, or just in general?
Well, you can start with in general. What do you do? What do you do, and how do we know each other?
All right. I am executive director at Temple Rodef Shalom in Falls Church, Virginia. And we have about 1,650 households here. And I've been in this position almost 13 years. And before I came here, I worked in corporate America for 20 years.
Fabulous.
And that's my background.
I'd forgotten that. And why am I here?
You're here to help us. We're learning about how to fundraise here to further our mission and our good work and all the great programs and community that goes on here.
That's so true.
It is true.
Yeah. So I promised I was going to tell you a story, which is a terrible story, but it's also funny. And I know a big part of your job is taking the checks that come in and making sure they get into the bank and attributed. So
promptly.
When I was working at Columbia University, one day I came to work and you weren't allowed to come to work because the FBI had been there. Why had the FBI been there? Because a couple guys who worked in the office had decided that they were going to take a $100,000 check. Actually, they worked in the mailroom, so they were in the perfect position to do this. $100,000 check made out to Columbia University. They were going to drive up to Westchester to a bank, endorse it with the Vice President for Development's name. I'm sure that's for me, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Endorse it with the Vice President's name and cash the $100,000 check.
Yikes.
What do you think of that plan? The check wasn't made out to the Vice President, so they weren't allowed to cash the check. And then the FBI came around, and for some reason they no longer worked at Columbia anymore.
I bet. Well, I have even a better story. When I was an internal auditor for a large multimedia company, our Audit Department secretary was stealing on behalf of all the internal auditors. She was taking out travel advances in our name and kiting them.
How many auditors were in on that?
Well, fortunately, nobody was in collusion with her. There were 8 of us.
Oh, she was doing it pretending for...
She would say, oh, Beth's going on an audit to Hawaii and she needs $1,000 cash advance. Wow. And she would get the money, and I knew nothing of it. And I had an auditing assignment. I went to Hawaii. They owned the newspaper there in Hawaii. It was a great gig. And while I was there, we did the work, and afterwards went on vacation. And checked into this condo kind of timeshare in Kauai, and they said there's no phones in the rooms. And of course, this was long before email and all that. Yeah. So you may want to check the front desk each day to see if there's any phone messages for you. And I thought, well, that's crazy. I'm on vacation. And we went to check out a week later, and there was messages from my boss. Please call me. Very important. Doesn't matter day or night. And I thought, uh-oh. And I called, and he said, do you have $25,000 out in travel advances? And I said, what? I have $1,000 travel advance to come to Hawaii. That's it. So anyway,
wow.
She had stolen from everybody except one of the auditors was a former police officer. She didn't touch his account.
That was smart. So how about we try some bad asking?
Okay. I told you yesterday about the bad ask that I heard about with going to visit a donor and commenting about their expensive art on the walls.
Oh, right. Could you remind me about
yes.
that?
So not this congregation, another congregation that I heard of, that when they went to go visit the congregant at their home, and they brought a lovely basket of items for the pet, and they were talking about what the need was and how great it would be if this person could help out, and a number was mentioned. And the senior person of the delegation said, well, that really doesn't seem quite right. I'm looking at all the
You
expensive...
mean the donor said, well, we'll give you this?
Yes, yes. The donor offered an amount. And the senior person of the delegation looked around his living room, the donor's living room, and said, that's some pretty expensive art you've got on the walls. Really, any of these art pieces that I see are worth far more than what we're talking about here. Surely there's another number you can come up with. I thought that sounded like not a great ask.
It's a little bit crude.
A little crude, embarrassing somebody in their own home.
How did it work? Do you know?
I believe it was successful ultimately. So it was an audacious ask. I don't know if you would call that a bad ask.
Right, well, audacious, on bordering on bad.
Yes.
That's a great story for the fundraising chronicles.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you, Beth. It's
You're
great
very
to talk
welcome.
with you.
Good to talk with you.
Remember to like and subscribe. Get your free major gift tools at HellerFundraisingGroup.com. What's your outrageous story? Write to info@HellerFundraisingGroup.com.